This episode of Off the Job Podcast is sponsored by Electrical Certificate app.
Need to bash out an EICR before the kettle's boiled? Electrical Certificate app's got your back. Save 30% on your first year with Pod 30. Easy does it.
This episode of Off the Job Podcast is sponsored by Ridgeline.
Right, welcome back to Off the Job. We have a special guest episode. We have Benton-Jones from Duck Plumbing and Craig Wilkinson from Luthmore.
Hello?
Luthmore,
depends who you are, how you say
it. Luthmore
we
Boilers?
don't mind.
Is it Luthmore?
It's just Luthmore.
Just Luthmore?
Yeah.
Just Luthmore. And we also have Kieran on the end and I'm Pete. So obviously there's the introductions. What we talking about today, gentlemen?
Well, I guess we're here to talk about the Luthmore boiler.
The Luthmore boiler.
Or Luthmore boiler, however you want to say it.
Tell us about this, Craig, because it's quite intriguing. This is why Kieran got you in, because it's an interesting subject, obviously with the introduction of renewables and things like that. So you're quite unique in what you've got as a product.
Be great to get a background as well.
Yeah.
Of both of you, yeah.
Well,
we get into
background
it,
first.
Yeah, do the background.
Yeah, do the background first. That's fine. Yeah.
So Craig Wilkinson. So I come from years at Dyson. So went to university in Bath, mechanical engineer. Was at Dyson for 7 or 8 years.
Quickly, let me just stop you there, right?
Yep.
Do you get the with heating engineers, call themselves heating engineers?
I don't want to bring up that contentious subject. I will stay firmly away from that. Call yourself whatever you feel comfortable. So mechanical engineer, but worked at Dyson for 7 or 8 years doing vacuum cleaners, so like the stick backs. I worked on like the motors and gearboxes in there. Yeah. But that's also where I met my business partner now, Martin. So he's in the same team as me. Started about 2 weeks before I did. So worked on that for sort of 5-6 years. I went more kind of management after doing the engineering. He went more technical. And then we both ended up on the Dyson car project. So I don't know if you heard about the car project. Dyson was trying to make an electric vehicle.
I remember that. How many years ago was that?
So the project sadly ended beginning of 2020.
Right.
So I worked on that, and then sadly it was kind of cancelled.
We didn't clean the road as well.
There was quite a lot of mock-ups of it that looked like that, but no, it wasn't a car vacuum cleaner, sadly.
What happened, if you can say?
To be honest, it's not an area that I was close to.
Yeah.
I'm not high enough to really contemplate.
We've actually got a really old Dyson upstairs.
Really?
Because we had a Henry and it just weren't doing. They was moaning about it, and then Jack brought his nan's old Dyson in. I think it's probably about 10 years old.
Yeah, once you have
Still
look at it
going.
after.
That's fine. If it's one I worked on, it's not my problem.
I reckon you've upset every tradesman in the country by slating Henry.
I know. They're the best as well. No, I was backing up the Henry. I was like, no, it does work.
The car project sadly ended, and it was a question of, do we go back and do vacuum cleaners, which we'd already done, or do we do something else? So myself and Martin set up our own consultancy. So had a couple of years of doing engineering for other companies, but we started that literally during lockdown. Yeah. So it was not a great time to start a company, but luckily we got some clients in. We worked on like farming robots and some radio control cars and things like that. And then it was like the end of 2021 when there was like COP26. So it was all the nations turning around and saying we need to be net zero. We need to set a 2050 net zero kind of target of carbon emissions. And Martin literally had a shower moment. He was in his shower. He's got a 30 kilowatt gas combi, and he was stood there. Won't get into too many graphic details. And somebody thought, well, he keeps threatening to sort of do a reenactment of it, but we tell him not to. But so he stood in his shower going, right, I've got a 30 kilowatt shower, 30 kilowatt gas combi. I can have high power shower. It does my kind of house, and it's a small product. But when gas goes, you can't draw 30 kilowatts from your electricity, from your mains, unless you have 3-phase, which no one does. So it's a question of how do we then deliver that power? How do we get the same experience in the same sort of space as a gas combi? And we'd just been working with batteries. So he did a bit of a fag packet calculation and worked out that we could fit a suitably powerful, suitably sort of energy dense battery in the same space as a gas combi. And then you can discharge that battery at the same power as a gas combi to give you that kind of high 30 kilowatt performance without having to upgrade your electricity supply. So background into the product there. But
Because that's without this and the electric boilers. That's the thing with the electric boilers. You've got to upgrade your mains, haven't you?
So you don't necessarily have to upgrade your mains. So into the house, it can stay the same. You do need to route a cable from your consumer unit to the product. You would still have to do that with us. So you basically don't have to upgrade from single phase to triple phase, 3-phase. But it means you can charge at like a lower rate that you're capable of drawing from the grid. Yeah. But then once you're charged, you can then discharge at any point of the time during the day at that high power and get that kind of high performance without sort of loading the grid.
So obviously recharge at night.
The absolute idea is you've got off-peak periods or you've got your solar on your roof. You can charge during that off-peak period, take advantage of lower cost energy, take advantage of times where there's not loads of load on the grid, and then you can use that.
So is the battery separate from the boiler then?
No, so there are other products out there that have that kind of thing, or there's like your power walls and stuff that's separate, but this is a fully integrated battery. So within inside the boiler casing itself, same size as a gas combi, big battery stack in the middle of it.
Right.
And then we've kind of, a big part of the engineering kind of challenge has been to fit all the other components around the side.
So it's a combi, it still works.
Still
as a
combi.
plate-to-plate exchanger.
So it's slightly different in, we do have a heat exchanger, but that's to recover otherwise wasted heat from when you charge. But what it actually does is cold water goes in, it goes through a hot water element.
Yeah.
And then you have a separate heating element and a closed loop for your central heating. So it's direct use in terms of your combi sort of style. But yeah, water basically comes in one end, hot out the other. It goes via a heat exchanger to recover heat from the battery when you're charging, basically. So efficiency-wise, you hold on to that energy.
Right, okay.
What made you go into this industry then? Is it because of the net zero? Is that what sort of drew you
I guess
to
that, yeah. So mine is the brains behind the kind of idea. And yeah, it was one of those that we were looking for. We're doing other work for other companies, but we were looking for what could we do ourselves? And it kind of like, I guess, landed in our laps in terms of that was where the market was going. He came with this idea and then we went and looked at sort of patents, really, see if anyone else is doing it, if there's an opportunity there. So yeah, it wasn't that we got masses of prior experience in this industry, but the opportunity was there for us to actually, as engineers, you like to solve problems, but you like to solve problems that might actually support and help people in the world in some way. Yeah.
So does that, is it on the market now? Is it on the market now, or?
So we did the commercial launch back in June at the installer show up at the NEC, and then we've got the first few installs have gone in. So we're doing a kind of slow soft launch at the moment, ramping up. But yeah, the boiler is out in the market.
And we've had feedback yet from the people who've got them in. Are they happy? Are they?
Yeah, at the moment the first one's in. But yeah, like it does provide that performance. The hot water, doing your bath and stuff like that. It's not taking an hour to charge your bath up.
Al's got obviously experience in it. You're sort of heavily on the product side, aren't you? Sort of
Yeah, we're pretty keen. We've helped along the way where we can.
Have you fitted one?
Only in the factories.
Right, okay.
We've done, multiple unboxing, putting on the wall, working through how it works. We're just waiting for one to turn up and put it in the office.
Right.
Because I think the best way is to have it out there installed and us be able to monitor it.
Yeah.
So we've got one coming up to the office shortly.
Yep.
And then we'll be able to give it a real thrashing and see how it performs. I think the only way we're going to really know how amazing it is by putting it out there.
Because you've been in the industry. Yeah, just to give a bit of background about.
So I went to Newcastle University.
Yeah.
I never knew I had a plumbing course there.
I know. So did agriculture at Newcastle, and then I was saying to Craig earlier, a friend and I were
Careful of you tapping on the old table there.
Sorry, it comes through.
After a night out, we were trying to work out what career we were going to do, and we said, "I'll tell you what, let's do a trade." And I don't know when this was. It must have been 3 a.m. So we said, "Well, come on, we could be builders. We could be electricians maybe." But we said, let's start with plumbing and see how we go. So I came down to London and I work for a plumbing and heating company here, a pair of brother and brother-in-law. And then my business partner went into Oxford and worked for a contact that he had. And after about 4 years, we said, right, let's merge and take it from there. So then we set up Duck Plumbing. And we are based just outside Newmarket, which is great. If you're going to have an office, it's just ideal. In a farmyard, lots of space, lots of area for skips and trailers and all that sort of jazz, and a nice big office. What you pay for an office in the country is what you
Yeah.
pay for a desk in London. So it seemed fairly obvious, and there's no reason why the girls in the office need to be in London. So we set up there, and we've been there. We started off in a little shed, and we progressed around the farmyard, and then rented a little bit more of the farmyard each time. So we've been doing that ever since.
You don't need a space age toolkit for Ridgeline. It plays nice with the gear already in the van, so you're not spending extra just to make the switch.
How the name's quirky. How did
so
the name
that-
come about?
so
I've seen the vans in London actually when I used to
We
work.
can't take credit for that. We were on a holiday, and one of our mates who were on holiday with us, we were sort of brainstorming, coming up with good names for the company. And we've been writing them down, things like Evergreen Plumbing and Heating and all that sort of jazz. And he said, well, I've always wanted to call a company Duck. And I was like, okay. I mean, I'm never going to get that past my business partner, who's much more sensible than I am. And I was like, no way can we do that. I said, but I'll ask him. He said, I'm really keen that you call your plumbing company Duck Plumbing and Heating. I'm like, okay. So I go back and I say, Rob, business partner, Rob, what about calling it Duck Plumbing? And I mean, you just see his face. I mean, anyway, he fell for it, and we said, let's do it. So that's how the name Duck Plumbing evolved. And our first van was just a classic. We used to drive 2 Land Rovers, and they're the vehicles we had anyway. So we were like, well, let's work out of them. It saves us buying a new car. So we were working out of our 2 Land Rovers, and it got to a stage where we had our first employee. Like, right, we need a van, and I was thinking, I love this sort of thing. So Rob went off to the auctions. I'm like, get a nice blue one, or silver, and nice Vivaro. And he rang me up and said, I think I've got the one that's going to suit us best. I'm like, great. What? Most importantly, what colour it is? He goes, sort of yellow, sort of mustard yellow. And I'm like, oh my god, really? Do we? So anyway, so once we got that, we were like, let's just set the tone.
Yeah.
Renault yellow. And it's not the AA yellow, so it's not as if we buy ex AA vans. We have to buy this mustard yellow van. So that's involved. So now we've got a sort of core team in central London, and then we've got a core team in Newmarket, Cambridge.
Because you've grown it to a good size now, and it's not easy to, like I was saying earlier, a lot of people trying to go sole trader to multiple engineers to break that sort of barrier and get through it. It's a hard challenge.
It's really tricky, and it's just training the boys to do, like I was saying earlier, like get signed off, make sure the client is happy then and there. So they're like, I'm genuinely happy, and everybody's not quite so happy when they get an invoice. So just make sure they sign the job off, and we're all good to go. And you haven't messed up the carpet. We haven't, we're just on side. And providing they do that, then we all get along really well.
So, like in general, though, what do you think of like we spoke about this earlier? I don't think we'll speak about it now. But what do you think of how it is out there at the moment, generally in the trades or plumbing?
Yeah,
and heating?
it's tricky. It's tricky. There's no question. You look at the plumbers merchants that we use, Fulham. They're decreasing. They're shutting down branches, which is sad, and that can only reflect in the amount of work that we've all got. And there is no question. In the last year and a half, 2 years maybe, work is just gently slowing.
Some people were saying, because there's less and less of people getting into the trade, maybe there'll be a bit of a turn and there'll be more work, because I think the younger generation coming through, it seems like there's less and less coming through. So maybe in turn that should create more work for the people out there.
Yeah, maybe. And you might find this sort of technology, the youngsters are like, well, actually that's more my bag. I'm not massively keen on apps and bits and pieces because, well, I should be because I can't read. But I think you may find the younger guys are like, maybe this technology is more interesting to them, and it's sort of less hands-on, and it's just a bit more. It's a bit more.
I'm interested.
technological.
Yeah. So with the boiler then, so that obviously it's the same size as a combi, a standard combi. Yeah. What about weight?
So it does weigh more. There's
Yeah.
kind of no way getting around it. You've got the same amount of stuff in there as an electric combi plus a battery stack.
Yeah.
So the batteries do weigh a substantial amount. So assembled weight on the wall, we are about 120 kilos. So it does need to be a load-bearing wall. But in terms of how it's installed, it is modular. So the maximum lift of any one part of it is 25 to 30 kilos. Right. So it's no heavier for someone, or technically it's a 2-man lift, but I think a lot of plumbers tend to hoof them on themselves. But it's no heavier than a standard gas combi for the heaviest part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you've put kind of the frame on the wall, there's 6 battery modules, battery bricks that you install one at a time.
Right.
But that also adds in terms of, it makes it easier to install. But from a serviceability point of view, it means you can replace them if there's something wrong. Also, end of life, you can send them back, refit new batteries, and you've kind of got a whole extra 10 years of a product without having to replace the whole boiler.
Yeah. And is there any criteria of where they can be fitted? Is there any areas in the house where they can't be fitted?
Yeah, so it isn't a gas combi, it's an electric boiler, and it does have a battery in there. So there's a standard that's come out called PAS 63100 or PAS 63100. So it's part of the electrical kind of standards for battery storage. So we kind of are a bit between the gaps. We're a boiler and energy storage. But yeah, this standard is kind of what becomes, I guess, state of the art and required in terms of where you put battery storage. The majority of areas I would say are kind of where you would put a boiler is still sort of allowed. So utility rooms, kitchens, even bathrooms, airing cupboards. You're not allowed to put them in loft spaces. So I know that some places do have loft spaces for boilers. Escape routes, so in like a corridor that would be classed as an escape route, or bedrooms or rooms/cupboards that come off a bedroom. So kind of anywhere that sort of is a living space or a sleeping space.
Yeah.
But other than that, you can put them in a lot of the places that you would expect to find a gas combi.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about like creating sort of a boiler, and even like you've almost got to think of these regulations because you're the manufacturer, and it's like you got to build, like you think in the boiler manual, everything that you've got to put in there and create. And I'm even thinking like, how did that first phase of building this business, like creating a product and getting it created, like who creates it? And you don't have to say who creates it, but it's like that first phase of, right, we got this idea, because it's not a small little product, like it's a big thing to create. Yeah, how was that first phase of?
Yeah, so the starting point was idea. You have the idea, and then it's like, right, what's next? And myself and Martin have the experience of developing products and getting them to a level to take to market, but we don't have the experience of kind of funding and getting the kind of finance side together. So we kind of got the pattern, we had the idea, and it was, right, how do we go and fund this and actually start developing a product to kind of start bringing to market? So we kind of went to this, there's innovation hubs and sort of all these things out there to help with funding. And we were lucky, we kind of came across now head of corporate and commercial sort of fundraiser, Will. We kind of met him at a solicitor's drink event. It was one of those sliding door moments might miss him. And then, so we went and did funding. So for the first year, after we got the patent beginning at 22, or patent file, should I say, we basically just went out funding, to be honest, to bring a business plan together and say, this is what we're going to do. And then we landed the first amount of funding, end of 22. And then that first year from landing the funding was basically building a proof of concept boiler. So you need to look at these standards, but the starting point is what we're saying even possible? Like we've said, same size and space. We've said we can do that power. We've said we can do this. We need to, it's one thing to say you can do it, it's one thing, but actually building that prototype to do it. So that first year was that. And then it's sort of looking and starting to look at the bigger picture and go, right, what are the standards? How are boilers normally installed? Who do we need to engage with while you're building that? And then that built our kind of, I guess, our business plan and our model. So over the next round, once we got the concept, we could go out for more funding to then go, right, we've got the concept now. We can show we can do it. We understand what the market is. We understand the size of the market, who this is best suited for, where we're going to sell it. Not that we've got all the things in place, but we've got a route to do that.
Yeah.
And then with the next money, it was then basically kind of this last stage, these last 2 years of turning it from a proof of concept. So it's one thing to build something that works once in a lab space or an office space, but to actually build something that you can then go out and sell, it's kind of that next stage of refinement. But yeah, like standards, basically it's about employing the right people. So we're lucky from our years at Dyson that they had every skill set under the sun you needed to sort of bring a product out. So
it's a massive learning curve then being there, obviously.
Absolutely. It's like, I think the biggest thing that I've learned or need to learn is you need to know what you don't know, and you need to know who you need to ask. So it was kind of, we know this bit, but we know we don't know these bits, so let's go and find the right people to bring in.
And this is
that.
where like people like Al come in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's feet on the ground, the people are going to be fitting them. And
exactly. So like, a lot of our kind of base of investors have been quite strategic. So we've got developers, so housing developers, sort of resident management companies, plumbers, installers, all these individuals that work in this industry that go, right, all I really care about is what EPC can you give me? Or what I need to know is how much does it cost because I'm competing with a heat pump. I just need the upfront cost. So all these things helps us kind of narrow down what our offering needs to be to get the right individuals to sort of want to kind of sell it or want to talk about it and want to bring it on into their
I suppose you just had to do research on other boiler manufacturers to see what they have, innit?
So
absolutely,
you run a 30 kilowatt on direct hot water.
So it's 30 kilowatt direct hot water and then it's 10 kilowatt central heating.
Right. Okay.
So
is that modulating as well? Can you modulate it or
not at the moment?
Range rate it?
So you can choose the temperature you run it at, but it doesn't. It self turns on and off like normal central heating, but it's not a modulating. But so it's not like weather compensating either at the moment. But this is product one. This is we're getting the market. We see where there's the holes or where's the things that we're missing that we can improve in the future. But yeah, so it's 30 kilowatts. So for your hot water, it takes a lot of energy to heat water. So the 30 kilowatts in the battery really gives us that performance and that experience and that offering to the end consumer. Central heating, 10 kilowatts, it does, limit maybe the size of the house, but
nobody's ever needed 24 kilowatts for a house though with a combi.
Exactly. So power-wise, you don't need as much for your central heating.
But like
so
you say, it's the
limited
first
to 10.
product, so you'll be able to sort of progress from there in the future.
Exactly. So a lot of people have said, right, can I strap two of these together for my bigger house? And it's not been designed for that. We've identified this kind of pocket in the market. So there's, with people moving away from gas, if they have to or they want to, the kind of main option that is being talked about, which is in the news all the time, and government talk about it, is heat pumps. And it's, right, move away from gas, put a heat pump in. And we'll always say heat pumps are great from an engineering perspective. You get free energy effectively from the environment. So they are really good in that sense. But they are large, they are very costly. Even with government grants, they are costly up front. So there's a question of, does that suit everyone? And the answer is pretty clearly no, it does not suit everyone. So people don't get forced into, you've got to put a heat pump in and shoehorn it into your small flat or terrace house. We have that option that is, you don't have to compromise on your performance. You can get the same experience that you've got with gas combi without having to suddenly find a room for a water tank, sticking a heat pump outside, changing all your radiators. We are that kind of as close to plug and play as possible for a gas combi that you can put in and out. So we're not going to satisfy everyone, but the market's huge. There's I think it's 1.6 million boilers sold most years, every year, 80% of which are gas combis. There's, even if we take a tiny percentage.
But it does come into as a renewable though, as a battery. So
yeah, because it's electric, it is sort of classed as a net zero. And with the battery storage for the new, so future home standards for new builds, so the new kind of model of how you build a house, that's coming into force next year. I think it will be in parallel with the current methodology until there's a kind of a full handover. But within that, gas and fossil fuels will not get a passing score, basically. So new builds will have to put in non-fossil fuel powered energy.
So when's that next year?
Next year, it kind of gets published.
Definitely coming in next year.
That's the latest we've been told. They keep changing their minds.
Yes, we've been told it for a few years that it's definitely coming in, and all of a sudden it moves on. And then if any other governments get in or whatever, or people get in, they can change. It
can.
Probably from a development thing, the longer you can just play it out gently, the more you're going to learn, the better the product. When it does absolutely land, the product will be good. Whereas at the minute, it's going out as what we'll think is awesome, but it needs that. It needs that time in the market to work out really how good it is and how it can be improved.
I mean, the CBUC ratings and that, is CBUC, is that what they call it?
The EPC stuff.
Yeah. So at the moment, would that, if you recharge him with solar panels, would that up it? It's a movable on that CBUC or that
EPV?
It's
the EPC certificate where you got A, B, C, D,
that's
it is.
At
the moment, the process called the standard assessment procedure massively favours gas. It's primarily based on cost of energy, and that's all it's based on. The new standard is going to be called the home energy model, when it does come, will be based on kind of carbon emissions and carbon intensity. So if you use gas, you'll get basically a score that just means it doesn't pass. Heat pumps, because you take energy from the environment, will score well, but things like us, like a battery, will also score well because energy off renewables like wind farms and what have you isn't always produced when you want it. It's produced whenever the wind blows. So having something like a battery can help load and manage the load on the grid, but also it means you have products in your house that can take energy when that energy is available and store it, as opposed to demanding it immediately.
What's the state? Oh, sorry, go on.
No.
I'll normally interrupt all the time.
No.
So what's in terms of storing the energy?
Yeah.
So that obviously creates you a saving. Or what's?
There's two sides of the energy. There's kind of in terms of the market, what storing energy does, which is it allows basically the energy companies to use your product to distribute energy to when they have excess energy.
Yeah.
And they give you a kind of a cost benefit for that. Also, it allows you to manage the load on the grid. So your electricity cables into your properties. At the moment, all your heating and hot water comes off gas. You start getting rid of gas, all that extra load then has to go onto the electricity mains, which it's not been originally designed to. So the more you can spread out the load, as opposed to everyone turning on their 30 kilowatt electric at the same time of the day, that it overloads the grid. So being able to kind of shift that load again is beneficial in terms of managing cost, but also in terms of like EPCs, it helps the rest of the network manage its load, and it means less money needs to be put into infrastructure sort of changes. But then in terms of our product, what actually having a battery does, it gives you opportunity to link with solar, so free energy, opportunity to take advantage of the off-peak tariffs or the time of use tariffs and wind and solar and stuff. But also that storage of energy allows you to then use and distribute it at really high power to give you that performance.
How does what warranty do you sort of going to put in place? And
So like I say, first products in the market. So our starting point is, so we've got a 10-year design life. So the idea of the product is a 10-year design. The starting point is a 5-year warranty, 2 years on parts. The aim is obviously, as we learn more about this when it's in the market and how people use it, is that we would look to improve those warranties as and when we can. It's like I say, the biggest part of there is the batteries and the cycle life of the batteries and how long they last. They are the kind of newer part or the more costly part of it. But so a starting point with 5 years is kind of the going in point with a lot of warranties. I know a lot of companies and gas combis offer, if you do this service every year and if you do this, you get extended warranties. So those are all things that we are effectively evolving in.
Need to think about It's so much that goes into building the boiler manufacturer, so fair play for doing it.
Like I say, the gas boiler market's been around 40, 50, 60 odd years and it's been able to do all this stuff. So we're trying to follow on as close as possible to what a gas combi offers, because I think there is a big barrier to consumers, but also installers and plumbers as to, this is what I'm used to doing, this is what I'm used to. How do we offer something as close as possible to that experience that it means it's
make
not
it
a
easy,
jarring.
make it easy to work on.
Exactly.
That's the key.
No, exactly. And I think heat pumps, it's quite a big change. You've got to change all your plumbing, flow rates, how you turn your heating on. It's a big difference.
And as an installer, Al, how do you see it? I mean, you've seen this in the process, and you've said you've added like a bit of your own, like
I mean, they've been really good. You go down to the factory and we go through the install process and bits and pieces, and we say, look, the AAV is definitely going to leak. There's no question. So what are we going to do to capture that problem? Well, let's build a little tray underneath the AAV. So now it leaks into a little tray. So these little bits, they've taken on board and done them. The expansion vessel, let's not be having to take the flue off in order to get the expansion vessel out the top. I mean, how many boilers?
Is there a flue on it then?
No. So the expansion vessel just drops out the side.
Yeah.
So you know how
making it accessible.
Yeah,
it's just about getting it out, isn't it? Being able to get to the pump. And it's all pretty modular. So the hot water tray just comes out, and you've got the central heating tray at the side. And they don't just drop out, but they come out pretty easily. But in my sort of thought, the coolest thing is the batteries. When we bought electric vans for the boys, we were like, God, we're buying an electric van, and the battery's going to be superseded next year by something that's way better. And that was a sort of prohibitive for us wanting to go further into that. These batteries, there's a bank of 6 batteries. There's sort of a car battery turned on its side. And once you fitted it, you just fit one battery and then you fit the next and you build them up. So when they bring out a new battery in 2 years' time that's better or whatever, you just take your batteries out and just put new batteries in it. I know there's going to be a cost to that, but at least it gives you the option of whipping the batteries out and putting in newer, better batteries.
Yeah.
And the batteries is a massive part of this boiler. So the fact that you can just take them out and change them for new ones, it's got to be. It feels good.
What about working parts? So like, does it have like you don't use a plate to plate exchange, but you use a heat exchanger, a direct heat exchanger. Do you have like any sort of like diverter valves in there or anything like that?
Yeah, so in terms of like moving parts, so standard off the shelf kind of stuff, as Al said, like expansion vessel, we've got the central heating pump, like a billow pump. We've got a valve, closing valve. So the product works, it is a battery product, but it runs off the mains as well. So when the battery depletes, it will hand over to mains. So if you've used all your battery and you were stood in the shower, it won't suddenly go cold like a water tank would.
Right.
It basically hands over to mains. But because you're then limited to 10 kilowatts instead of 30, we have basically a flow ball valve that will close off the flow. So your flow will restrict and it'll go a bit lower, but you'll still get that heat and that sort of temperature.
Yeah.
And then there's one of the clever parts about the product, so where the kind of patent sits is around the storage of heat. So we've got a little closed loop coolant pump in there as well. And that allows us to kind of manage the temperature inside the batteries, but also the heat they generate, we can capture that and store that as well. So from an efficiency point of view, if you pay for, so it's a 7 kilowatt hour storage, if you pay for 7 kilowatt hours of energy, you don't waste 15% of that to heat radiating out to the environment. We hold on to that as well. So you basically have some is stored as heat. It's low level heat, but some stored as heat. So
A bit like a condensing boiler does now, isn't it? When it reuses, I guess.
Yeah.
same kind of idea, I guess, but it's-
You sort of knew what it saved, didn't you, the other day?
Yeah, so it's about 15%. So about 1 kilowatt hour of 7 is heat that would otherwise you'd sort of radiate out. So when you turn a hot water tap on, the cold water comes in through that plate heat exchanger first. So there is a plate heat exchanger in there, but that's just to capture that 1 kilowatt hour of heat that's been stored.
Right.
And then it goes into the heater to then put the full kind of 30 kilowatts into it.
What would you say sort of the market is that you're sort of going for? Like, what would you...
So as I said, we aren't a solution for everyone. Like there is, I mean, at the moment, there's not one solution for everyone. But where there's a real kind of opportunity, or should I say there's a gap in the market that will be missing out if and when they're sort of pushed off gas, is those smaller properties. So the smaller properties where they can't fit a heat pump, they're not allowed to fit a heat pump. There's nowhere they shouldn't be allowed to, but it's not the easiest thing to put in. If they can't put gas in anymore, because you can still put gas in retrofit, but new builds you can't, that's where there's an opportunity for it. So our limit really is only the 10 kilowatt central heating requirement, but I just say that, majority houses, that's fine. We wouldn't be suitable for your old Victorian leaky houses. We won't be suitable if you've got a massive cottage and stuff like that. It's not for the bigger properties. The heat pumps are perfectly suited to those. So smaller properties, the amount of energy we store, suitable for 3 to 4 occupants, hot water use a day. So it works out in normal terms that everyone can understand is about 138 litres of hot water at 60 degrees. So when you mix that down to 40 degrees at the tap, you're talking about 230 litres of water that we store in that battery that's this sort of size. So 3 to 4 occupants kind of is where we recommend. But ultimately, it comes down to a cost versus performance choice really for the end user. Like if you're really cost sensitive, then it is the smaller houses that this is most suitable for. If you're not cost sensitive, as long as it can do the heating requirement, it'll just keep charging up as soon as you turn the tap off, and you'll keep having your full kind of performance constantly. But electricity does cost a lot more than gas, so there is.
Have you had feedback from sort of development, new build, sort of? Because I suppose that would be a bit of a market that could.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could go into.
Yeah, so we've had pretty good engagement since the installer show with quite a few developers. Some, still got kind of retrofit houses that are on the books, sort of like the social housing and stuff like that. So we've got quite a few conversations going on with those individuals, and new builds as well, where again, fabric sort of first insulation is so good in new properties that the central heating requirement just gets lower and lower, whereas hot water people need day in, day out, all year round. So those new builds, especially like flats and smaller properties, we are kind of the best solution for. And we've had a few developers come to us and effectively give us the spec for their kind of standard set of houses and said which of these are most suitable for you. So we are engaging in that sense already.
And then if you take it to an installer point of view, for like putting it into London, think of the number of buildings that have got a Keston in the middle of them.
Yeah.
where you just can't get that flue out, and you're just thinking,
Yeah, Keston was popular in London, actually, wasn't it? Yeah.
So there's a lot of there's still a lot of Kestons kicking around, and if you find someone that's got a Keston, they're either lover or haters. So again,
I hated them things.
Where the flue just goes everywhere, doesn't it, through the house.
and I think you can run them like 25 or 50 meters, those flues.
Yeah.
So something like this is a good replacement for one of them. And then there's also a lot of rules and regulations about flues going outside now. And if they want to change, they have a bit of a kitchen rehash and want to move the flue to over there, then they've got to apply to the council to drill a new hole through that building. So like the listed building side of things is also quite good because it doesn't have a flue, so you can just bang it pretty much where you want.
No annoying condense pipe as well.
So we do have a drain.
Do you have a drain?
We've got a drain.
Oh,
So,
I
yes,
stand corrected because electric boilers don't have the condense, do they?
No, but it doesn't run. It needs a drain, but it doesn't run. It's a more of a PRV.
Oh, you mean a PRV?
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not needed for normal use. But basically the way you would bleed up the coolant loop and bleed up the central heating, there is basically a drain within the boiler that goes straight down the drain pipe, so you don't need to bleed up.
Being engineers, you can imagine they've made it so they've got a little tool that just does that, and then it goes in there and does that, and then it goes in there and does that.
Big question is, are engineers going to cut their hands up working on it?
The aim is absolutely not, but these are all things that we're take in, and the idea is the product. We've learned as much as we can, developed as best as possible the simplest solution we can within the limits of it is a new type of technology. Obviously, the support from Al and Rob to kind of really help us understand the issues or the annoyances of real world use as opposed to us in a big, massive lab space and a workshop is invaluable. But every time we learn these things and put them out there, these are all like snag list stuff that we then go and iterate on and improve for version 2.
And it starts from the beginning, doesn't it? When you've got that box, you open the box and it's like pass the parcel. You open the box and what you need first is at the top of that box. And you just work your way down the box in order of installation, which is awesome. There's no sort of having to empty the box in order to get the instructions. It's all there. So the first thing that comes out is that, and the frame goes, or the chair goes on the wall. That's fine. Yeah. Next thing is this, and then they've used a really clever connection for a lot of their fittings, which is
it's like a quick release. I can't remember what it's called. The engineers will kill me, but so you don't have to do big undo stuff. It's stuff you find in like a car. It's like quick release kind of connectors. So the expansion vessel is on a quick release. So if you need to replace that, literally just 2 clips pull off.
I think even that packaging stuff like that goes a long way.
It's
the simple little things, just taking out an order and doing it does go a long way, like in product.
And the whole idea is that a lot of tradesmen, reading wouldn't be definitely not my strongest point. So if I can take a picture of a QR code and it flings straight up on my phone and it says, right, step 1, do this. It's like, great, step 1.
So to commission it, we've got an app. So the installer basically would commission it via the app. So once they've built it, you go on the app and it's like enable, and it'll basically walk you through a wizard of how to bleed the coolant, do the central heating, turn it all on, and enable the boilers. Yeah.
And we see all the literature get sent through to us. And, then we get a lot of, this will be good bedtime reading this weekend. And I think we're pretty blunt back to them. I sent them an email back at the weekend and I was like, bored by page 2, rethink, and they take it back and you just get an email back saying, thanks, taken on board, we're rethinking. So
I think that's good, because a lot of companies just don't listen. Because they're so well established and been going years, they're like, doesn't matter, we're selling loads anyway. So, but if you really listen and take sort of feedback, it goes a long way with the engineers.
Absolutely. I mean, ultimately, our customer is the installer for a lot of situations. Like, yes, the end consumer needs to be aware that we exist, but it's going to be the installer that we're selling to. It's going to be the installer that is kind of selling to their consumers. So for us, getting it to work well and simply for the installer, we want installers to feel happy to do it and want to do it, because if they want to do it, they're more likely to recommend to consumers as opposed to, I don't want to install one of those again, that was a nightmare. So it's really important to us.
As Alan or anyone else, you thought you've nearly got the boiler there, then someone suggests something, which is a good idea, but it's a big thing to add.
I think most of the suggestions have come in at the right time. There's probably a few things now where it's, okay, if we can do that, it's like, right, we'll put them on that list for the next iteration. But
because nothing's going to be 100% straight away. So it's
no,
just
absolutely. There's
it's
definitely
building
some,
off that.
some niggles.
And it's not like you can just go and quickly make something, is it? It's like it's
Sadly,
a
as
big
much
process.
as I wish we could, and I think people who aren't engineers would hope we could do it a lot quicker. Like that, there's a process. We've got to follow that process and do it properly. But
Do you have like an idea of like final costs yet of what it was going to cost the consumer if they would say, I want to buy that boiler?
yeah, so the RRP, but again, we kind of it's kind of on the installer really what they do at the end of the day. RRP would be 4.5 plus VAT.
Right.
So we are aware it is more costly than a gas combi, an electric combi, but we are in that lower bracket compared to the likes of a heat pump. So people can still put in cheaper products, and in terms of the addressable market we've identified, we have very much included the fact that those cost sensitive individuals would look to put in whatever they want as cheap as possible, even if it's not the best thing for
Would
them.
there be any like way of an incentive, like the heat pumps have that? Would that be any chance of you getting that as well? Like so
we are in discussions.
Yeah.
The boiler upgrade scheme at the moment is, like say, primarily heat pumps. There was a consultation recently that is going to include things called heat batteries, sort of phase change material. So it's instead of it being storing energy in water, it's you heat up kind of a medium. It just makes it a slightly smaller product.
Right.
So things like those guys are going to be included in the boiler upgrade scheme imminently. Not to the same level, we believe, as heat pumps, but yeah, we'll see when that actually comes out. But they've been campaigning quite a lot for that. So it's not going to be something that we imminently are included in. But one argument, I think, from a commercial viability is we are already at the lower end of the spectrum anyway, compared to those that, I guess makes it more of a difficult conversation to kind of get included on those. But there are other schemes out there. There's other things that, and we are engaging as much as possible with the right departments to be included as and when it is
Yeah, no, it's good. I'll take my hat off to you for doing it, because it's a big thing to go for. And when was that on like I suppose I'm thinking more like business type, growing a business and stuff. When did it get real? Like it's an idea and oh damn, it's happening. The pressure sort of piles on a bit.
The pressure's got worse and worse. You keep thinking it's going to let off, and
it won't.
But
What's harder, Hoovers or boilers?
well, I wasn't in charge of that then, so
it's different
Well,
types
different
of
type of
pressure.
thing,
yeah, I guess I'm kind of now responsible for employees and other people, whereas when I was at Dyson, I was the employee. I only had to do my bit of job. But,
Although you can think, oh, it's someone else's money, but you still want it to do well for them. It's not. Yeah.
Oh no, absolutely. And I wouldn't take it for granted. Like people have put hands in their pockets because we've come along and said we've got an idea that we think we can deliver. So we have to deliver that. So even though you're working for yourself,
Alan's like staring in your ear. Like, what's he
saying?
saying?
But yeah, so it's as much as you go right. We've set up a company, but you're still there's always someone that's going to be kind of looking over your shoulder. But I think when the first money landed, it's like we got an idea, and then it was like first money landed. It was like, oh well, we now actually have to do it. Not that we didn't believe we couldn't. But that's when it kind of first got real, and then I think now that we've installed one as well, it's like we're actually out in the market.
I think I've just started a new business. I think we've been banging on about Hoovers and Dyson and plumbers. Our wet vacs, we use them all the time. So what about the Luthmore wet vac?
I mean, that would be a good addition.
First,
Wouldn't it? Do you know what I mean?
here.
I mean, if you want to give
Start
us
that
some
tomorrow.
more investment, we'll start that.
I'm in.
with
I'm in.
Well, I mean, that would be a direct competition with Dyson then, I think, with their wet vacs. So.
Perfect.
Even better.
So the next, like, what is for the next couple of years or next year or so? It's just plugging this and moving and innovating with it and when it goes on general sale, when does it go on general sale? You got any idea of when it is actually on general sale?
So we're ramping at the moment, so it's like soft launch. The idea is ultimately like you need an installer to be sort of trained. So we do a training course. So we kind of got a few before Christmas, but they're already good for us, like booked up. But if installers want to get on the training course, then effectively get in touch via the website we'll get training courses put in so people can get approved. It's not like a complicated course. The main thing is it is a battery, so it's battery safety. This is how you install a battery. the PAS 63100, this is where you should or shouldn't do it, and the electrical kind of requirements. But once you're approved, you then get access to the app, basically, or the installer side of the app, so you can commission the boiler. But so it's one of those chicken and eggs. So we don't want to kind of push it massively to the end consumer for them to turn around and say, "Can I have one?" And we go, "There's no installer to install it." So we're kind of growing up the installer network at the same time as pushing it out to consumer, the developers. But yeah, if people have already started coming through to us saying, "When can I have one?" And it's like, look, we need to ramp up those installers.
And obviously you've got to build that team as well, because obviously you have to have a support team as
Exactly,
well.
yeah.
So
I was thinking that earlier. I was thinking, Barbie, you've got big thing to go.
Yeah, so that's
Alan will do that.
Is that
He'd be the technical.
because you're gonna have like people throughout the country, and you fitting these things. You're gonna have like associated installers like Al and that here, or you're gonna have your direct team who work out of your Luthmore offices, or how?
Yeah, so it's growing that
One
part
step
of the
at a
business.
time.
But you're right, it's a big part of it. So we've got the product getting out there. So the soft launch is to help us grow this kind of start growing this part of it. The reason we are looking at installers that are already out there as opposed to growing our own team is that they are spread around the country. They are available. So the more we can trade up, that basically becomes our kind of support network. We then need to grow kind of the materials in the app and stuff like that. So there's the troubleshooting, but all this stuff we're kind of growing at the moment. So this next phase is really, like I say, growing that. It's one thing to start putting loads of boilers out there, but we need to support every single one of those boilers.
And they are monitored, aren't they? All the boilers that go out are monitored.
I was going to ask that.
So that's your technical.
Like say if something goes wrong with that boiler, it will send a message back to a hub.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah. So you got an idea of what's going on with it.
Yeah. So the idea is that we'll know what's going on before the end user notices the
Or
problem. So
before the installer, so you can say to the installer, "Look, it needs one of these. Possibly take that along."
exactly.
Yeah.
The idea being that
Yeah,
we
that's
can
a good
monitor
USP
it.
actually, isn't it?
Yeah, we can monitor it. There's batteries in there. We monitor the temperature of every battery. We see what's going on. We can see how people are using it. So it's one for the service and support that, like you say, we will know, for example, if Mrs. Miggins down wherever that was installed by Al, we will know if there's something going wrong with the boiler. We'll be like, right, Al, there's an issue here. We think it's this. Do you want to get in touch with them, or we'll get them to get in touch with you? And the idea being that we can kind of maintain that relationship because
It's lost pressure. Are you sure you sold to that joint? Oh, you know what I mean?
But then the data as well. So we'll understand that, be able to sort of send it out. But then we can then use that data to improve the product. So the more we understand how people are actually using it, we can then sort of upgrade the next product, or even send over-the-air software updates that maybe improve the product on the fly as opposed to for next products. So again, how people use it, if they use the energy less or they use the power less, like we've got 30 kilowatts. People are used to 30 kilowatt gas combis, but if you actually measured how much power they're actually using, it's probably a lot less than that.
I mean, like when you're talking about servicing's going to be a lot less than what it would be on a gas, in it.
Yes.
But there's no product of combustion, so the servicing requirements. What are you going to do with that? Is it just literally? Will you monitor it and then put out like a service reminder or a check or
Probably a bit of kind of both ends of the spectrum. One would be we will recommend a service of things like your kind of filters, so your Magna Cleans and your sort of, if you've got hard water, your kind of soft softeners and combi mates or whatever they're called. So we would say look after those, but like you say, it's not gas, so you don't need to check the safety of it. But
it's a bit of a catch-22, isn't it? Because these guys, one of their sales pitches is it doesn't really need servicing, but from an installer's point of view, I want to be servicing it every year.
Yeah.
So it's that sort of bit of a conflict where we just got to make sure that we can do the visual
maybe an
inspection.
annual check.
Basically, it doesn't need to do anything for safety reasons. It'd just be go and check it, make sure it's running, make sure there's no leaks, check expansion vessels and pumps and stuff. And, we can link that to kind of warranty. But in the future, we could turn around and go, right, it doesn't need a service, or it's not been serviced for a while, but we're noticing it seems to be getting, you need to go and check it. And we can send that information across. All these things will take time for us to build that kind of database of information. Yeah.
So what was your view of gas engineers before you got in the industry and after?
I'll be honest, without sounding rude, I guess I didn't have a view either. My own engagement with plumbers and engineers was my own experience, and I've still got gas at the moment. Sadly, we'll move on to a Luthmore as soon as possible. But it's I've up until last year I've always rented, so I've never really had to deal directly. It's just always been through landlords and stuff like that. But
I think there's a lot more involved than people think in plumbing and gas and stuff.
No, absolutely. I think ultimately, gas is still available, and we are relying on the plumbers wanting to learn a different type of product and put it out there to support us. And like I say, there are some plumbers who want to just stick with gas, and that's absolutely fine. But the market is going this way, especially new builds, that the more individuals that want to upskill. And when you chat to a room of say 20 people, you'll find one who's like really keen, like this is the next thing I want to do. And then you'll have some that are just like they'll never turn gas off. And
It's probably an age thing, isn't it? When you're a certain age and you've been plumbing for however long, you're like, do I really want to get into this, or am I just going to see my days?
Well, old school plumbers, didn't they? They didn't want to change their ways today. They just want to be doing the same thing, and then any innovation they'll knock, wouldn't they? So that's just the way of the world. That's just the way people are, isn't it? You know.
Would you go and fit one with Alan?
Would I get on fit one? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I may be an engineer by trade, but I've kind of massively moved into the office world.
Shows your hands.
Now they're a bit
A bit smooth, aren't they?
too soft.
Well, just to confirm about the training and in terms of installing, so do you have to do the training to install it? Or?
Yes, so we do want installers to be trained, basically to get access to the app. So you wouldn't be able to actually turn the boiler on if you don't have the access to the app. So it gives us the kind of the knowledge and protection that whoever's installing it understands there's a battery in there, because at the end of the day, it is a battery, it isn't gas, it isn't a standard electric boiler, it is different. So we need people to kind of understand the
But obviously electrics to boilers and that, you're going to need somebody who's NIC to put in like a primary circuit or...
Yeah, so the big difference compared to gas is that it doesn't run off a 3-pin 13 amp plug. So you would need Part P electrician to install from your consumer unit 50 amp breaker, 10 mil square cable to an isolator switch next to the boiler.
Gas
Doesn't have to be at the
engineer
same
will
time.
do that.
So yeah, so it you know, at the end of the day, there are differences, and you know we're not going to shy away from them, but it is no different from installing an electric shower.
Yeah.
You still need that same type of cable. So it's not from an electrician point of view or a Part P trained person's point of view. It's no more complicated than standard stuff on the market. But after that point, once that's in, any plumber who's done our training can then install it.
And you don't have the dates yet for the training?
So there were 3 that are booked up now, but there will be if people are interested.
We'll put the website. We'll put the website.
A few people want to do it, always looking to upskill, aren't they? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll put all the links in the description.
Perfect.
And
yeah, so courses will come online. The more people come to us basically and ask for it. So yeah.
There's nothing better than walking around a factory, picking up bits and going, oh, how does that work? And why have you used this? And it's a good factory for that.
Yeah, I mean,
I
we're
believe
outgrowing it already, but yeah.
It's a good course. It's a good experience.
where are you based?
So is it all like manufactured in Britain as well? Like, is there...
So for the moment, yes. So the starting point is, so we're based down in Chippenham in Wiltshire, just near sort of between Bath and Swindon. Near Dyson basically. We lots of Dyson engineers
Using their
around.
factory.
Yeah, if only. Sorry, what was your question?
So is it all
Manufacturer, sorry.
Yeah.
So a lot of parts, you know, we're not building and manufacturing anything from
No,
scratch.
they're
like pumps and stuff.
imported, yeah.
Assembly-wise, yes, the final assembly is currently going on in our factory there. But in terms of scale manufacture, we are working with a third-party contract manufacturer. They are sort of Far East based. There's a way off between cost of the product and making in the UK. Obviously, we'd love to make in the UK, but we also have a target cost we need to meet for people to actually, you know, want to install it. But yeah, so the initial launch will be sort of rolling out now from our factory, but to meet those volumes of developers when they're ordering 50s and 100s and stuff, we need to be able to scale quite quickly.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's been a good
stuff.
conversation. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, thanks. Thanks for having
So
us.
what are your plans for the next few years, Al, if you don't mind us asking then?
Well, I'm going to just go and look at all my castons. I'm going to be sending them a letter. I think we'll get on board. I think the most important thing is we get one in the office so we can really scrutinise it and make sure that we're totally happy with what we're happy to sell to our clients.
Yeah.
And it's the first thing they say is, have you got one?
Yeah.
And like, no chance.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
But I'm prepared to sell you one. So we've got to have one, and then that will help the technical bit of it as well. Because like Worcester, you know, when you ring up Worcester, there's a guy there, he goes, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to walk to that CDI or whatever. And he goes out to the workshop, he takes the case off, he goes, right, I'm looking at it. And that's that's pretty handy. I know it can be done on an app as well, but there's nothing better than actually looking at it. So if we can be looking at it as well and talking to our engineers, I think it'll just help the whole
Are
thing.
you going to be like Worcester or Valent when they've got actually like 30 or 40 different models as well? Because that's like, I think in manufacturing, right? I think
From experience.
from experience, no, as an installer, but there are so many different models out on the market which can be so confusing, and different models have certain different working components,
And it's the same boiler
etc.
anyway.
Setups, this, that, and the other. Would you look at like it's a big project? So would you be looking at scaling that down to minimal on models so they're like all basically the same? Is that
Yeah, I
a
mean,
reasonable
it's-
question to ask?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I say, it's for every version you have, that's a whole another version to manage,
Yeah.
stock parts for, and have a team for, and all that kind of stuff. So the more we can limit how many versions we have out there, the simpler it is for us. This is product one. There's, like I say, people have said, can I put two together? There's other markets like Europe where heating is maybe less of a concern. So maybe there's a hot water only version, maybe there's a double stack version, a half. But the more we can make it modular, which we kind of already are, and kind of build on that, then we can kind of look to increase the sort of range that the boiler can do without necessarily having to increase the kind of number of versions of components and parts. But yeah, I mean, all these things, it's nice to say let's manage just one thing, but ultimately
it's like a thing
See how
like
it goes.
you always got to give the GC number for the boiler because this part isn't compatible with that part, which does the same thing. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing that I find. It's always a case. Gives GC number. No, that one won't go for that one. But they're all basically the same boiler.
Yeah, they've got to use different parts. Some people get the parts from the same place, but it's...
No, but I'm saying in general they'll have a different. Like they'll have for one boiler. Your AAV. They'll have an AAV in one boiler, which doesn't fit an AAV in another boiler, sort of thing. And it's sort of like, why not?
Those replica parts
the
should
same
be the same.
Do you know what I mean?
manufacturer.
It's like why is that? Why does not an AAV fit every single? Do you know what I mean? It's like
They're complicating it for themselves.
But it must be a money-making thing, mustn't it?
well,
At that
yeah,
time.
it must be, but it's annoying for the installer because you could have as an installer, you can have, as a boiler engineer, you can have a number of parts on your van, but you know you're always going to be one short. Do you know what I mean? Of like, it's slightly different because you've walked up to a slightly different model and it's changed design or whatever, but it does the same thing. And I thought, but it is a money-making thing, obviously. But
these are the things that we take on board as best as we can and go, right, how can we do that? There's always going to be things as we improve the product. Sometimes the way to improve it and the process means backwards compatibility is difficult, and you take that hit of, right, we can't make it backwards compatible, but it offers so much that we'll just accept the management of that. And we have to obsolete this kind of older product. But yeah, like I say, the more we can manage, or people can manage less parts and components, it's easier for the installer, easier for us managing it as well, and kind of service.
it's easier to diagnose.
Exactly. So
as well.
so the starting point is one product out there and improve that and grow that, and as the market demands.
We were speaking about boilers earlier in terms of how much a boiler costs. Let's say it's £1,000, and then how much it can cost to buy a few parts for that boiler. It's like the same price. It's like the margin's not high enough on the boilers, so they have to make their money on the parts, because so many engineers will moan about how expensive the parts are, but to buy the whole boiler, it just doesn't add up. It's like they're not earning enough on the boilers, so then they get the money through the parts. It just...
And those cheap boilers at the beginning absolutely rinse you at the end. You know, I guess like the BAZs, which must have been done for B&Q or something at some time. The parts for those things are just insanely expensive. Whereas I reckon Worcester and Valent are pretty good. You pay a bit of a premium at the beginning.
Worcester are pretty good. I
And then
mean,
the parts are cheaper.
I've noticed Worcester parts are reasonable. Do you know what I mean? But whereas another boiler, I won't name him, but another boiler that I worked on last week, people was telling me like a heat exchange is like nearly £1,000.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, well, that's the same price as the boiler. Do you know what I mean? By the time you add up all these bits, some hoses for 80
Yeah,
quid.
it'll probably take you a morning to fit whatever you're trying to do.
rubber
And you might as
hose.
well.
Like parts that you've looked at. Like I've looked at certain boiler manufacturers. Just the gasket is 45 quid for the just the burner door gasket, and you think it's a piece of frigging fibre.
And that's the bit that gets you, doesn't it? When you go out for a service and they say, no, you've got to change all the seals around everything. So you're not going to get the info from the client exactly what that boiler is.
No.
Pre-order the service pack before you turn up and then have everything there. I mean, that sort of thing kills me.
Yeah.
Going back to like you saying, you want to make it so you don't have to service it. Just make it minimal, isn't it? So it's
It's an inspection, isn't it?
yeah.
Case
want
of
to make it as
Inspection,
simple
yeah.
as possible.
Yeah,
where we can.
filters, etc. That's obviously one of the things with part of a check and all that. And it's like I guess
No flush.
battery
No
life.
flush,
Is
no
there-
warranty.
Is there a way of checking battery life on the job, or you'll do that through your?
So we'll know on the app. So the starting point of the app is minimal and manual, but ultimately we want to get to a point where we could share the right details with the installer and say, chances are when you get there, this is what's wrong.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, if the installer's going to have the app, is there any way he can check on his boiler, like how the lifespan of the battery is and this, that, and the other? Is there any report that could come back to him, sort of thing?
Everything is possible.
especially
so-
development.
yeah, we've got all the
everything's
data.
Giving you some more
No,
things
it's
to
great.
think
I
about
should have
it,
written all
Craig.
the stuff. No, absolutely. Like we get so much data. It's about pulling out the right data. There's, what do we give to the consumer versus what do we give to the installer?
Yeah.
And it's managing that and seeing where the real opportunities are from us and an installer point of view to make it as seamless as possible. And
That's
sensible as
good.
possible.
I'll be checking battery life. Like,
Yeah.
God, it's down a percent. Damn it.
It's a big it depends, because unlike a water tank that you've got that amount of hot water, it's a battery. So if it's warmer, if the cold water coming into the product is warmer, you use less energy to heat it. So you could have one day where you get effectively a bigger tank than another day.
Yeah, and same again. Same as sort of like gas, in it. It's all dependent on that, how much it uses, your incoming water main and all that. So.
That'll be interesting to see.
It'd be
I
nice.
think people think they use more than they probably do, because I think people are used to having massive water tanks.
Well, we
just
all put in
oversized.
massive combis, don't we? And if you take out a 40 kilowatt combi, they're desperate that a 40 goes back. You're like,
You
you don't need it, and your flow rate doesn't actually warrant a 40 anyway. But they're like, I know, but I want a 40.
I'm used to that number. That sounds-
Did we mention what the flow rates are on?
So it's on the spec on the website. I think off the top of my head, for a 35-degree rise, it's 12.4. Effectively, whatever a 30 kilowatt gas combi can do, we can do. It's the same kind of numbers. That's what we try to make the same, is the sort of tank size or literage that we can deliver and the powers are the same numbers that you would spec on a gas combi. That you don't have to think, right, it's a heat pump. It runs at different flow temperatures. What does that actually mean? What does this mean? It's the same numbers.
No, I'm really looking forward to seeing the growth of the company.
No,
I
cheers.
hope it goes well.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, thanks
Take
for
my
coming
hat
in
off
and
for
sharing
you.
it.
Feel like going for it. It's a big.
Takes his
big
hat off a
thing
lot,
to
doesn't
go
he?
for.
Does he takes his hat off a lot.
I don't wear a
the time
hat.
he said that. Yeah.
But no, I'm just giving him his props.
That's good.
And I'm waiting for the royalties on the wet vac.
Yeah.
Not interested about the boiler anymore.
But was there anything else you wanted to? I think we've pretty much covered
I'm trying to
everything.
think if there's
Didn't we?
anything we're not talking about.
I didn't really look at this much, but I'm sure we covered it all.
I think we did. We talked about the training, and like I say, the main thing is anyone interested on any aspect, the website has got as much information as we can put on there, and that will keep growing in information. And just get in touch. We've got a contact form on there, and we'll do our best to get back to anyone as soon as possible. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a nice little spec sheet if you're an installer going to go and do a quote for someone, instead of thinking, oh my god, is this suitable or not? There's a little hit list, so you can just turn up, go right, and you just literally tick 6 boxes. Yes, it's suitable. It's like the spider graph. So then you're on to the next thing. Yes, it is suitable. Did they? Yeah. And before you know it, you've got a page of A4, really easy to go through, and it just says, yeah, this is essentially suitable. So. And you could probably do most of that over the phone, so you know that you're going to somewhere that really is worthwhile going. So it's nice for an installer on that point of view, that you're going to get, it's an easy choice to make.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
for
thanks
a good
for coming on,
conversation.
guys. Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, perfect. Held my attention, and that's hard to do. So you must be.
Yeah,
have
you
something.
done well with Pete. Yeah, he was interested.
Guys, thanks for joining us. Remember to subscribe, comment, like, follow, whatever you got to do on these platforms, and we'll see you next time on the next show. Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.